silence is the new no, thank you. In other words, you send somebody a script and you say, you know, dear so-and-so, I hope you'll enjoy the script. They've asked for it, right? They said, we'd like to read whatever. And then you wait and there's dead silence, and there's no response. That has become the new version of, thank you very much, but we don't want to make this script.
But I mean, I think that one of the great problems of movies these days is that producers are terrified of the directors.
The image of the producer was this powerful, flamboyant guy with a cigar and a starlet on his arm and prone to all sorts of outrageous behavior, and was the controlling factor of the movie-making process. Today, that's the director.
The Sting.
Yeah.
You told me a story once years ago, and I love it because it says something about having the best thing in the world happen to you, in Hollywood terms, which is winning an Oscar, and you're having to pick up Cary Grant.
You know, when you win the Academy Award, they give you the award, but they don't inscribe it. It doesn't say to so-and-so or anything, it's just a blank. So you have to take it home, and then at your convenience, you have to give it back or take it somewhere, and they put your name on it and all that. So I had driven my little 34 Buick to the Academy Awards, and I had rented a double-breasted tuxedo at Western Costume in honor of the 30s. So about a week after the Academy Awards, I got a call from a friend of mine, said, you know, you've got these cars, and I had 3 or 4 antique cars from the 20s and 30s, and she said, you know, we're having a charity opening for The Great Gatsby next week or two, and could we borrow some of your cars for the opening? We'd like to have a kind of a costume kind of period opening. I said, sure, you know, no problem. In fact, I'll drive one of them for you, because I'll throw my services in as a driver, because it's easier than to teach somebody how to drive this particular car. So they said, okay, we'll call you back. And they called me back and said, okay, your passenger is going to be Cary Grant. Here's his phone number. Call him up, arrange to pick him up, and thank you very much. So I call up Cary Grant. I say, Mr. Grant, my name's Tony Bill, and I'm going to be your driver. Oh, Tony Bill, he says, I know who you are. He says, I watched you on the Academy Awards the other night. You look smashing in that double-breasted tuxedo. And so I say, okay, and we talk a little while, and he tells me how to get to his house. You know, drive up Benedict Canyon. When you get to the street, you put it in first gear, make sure you're in first gear, and go up the hill. So I arrive that night, and I pick him up, and I go to his door and knock, knock. He says, oh, come on in, let's have a glass of wine before we go. And so we had a little glass of wine. He shows me around the house, and then we get in my car, and we're driving down Benedict Canyon, which is this kind of windy road down to the road that we're going to take to the theater. And we're driving down the road, and I hear this clunking in my car. It's a strange noise. Don't know what's going on. I'm thinking, do I have a bottle of wine under my seat? It's like, what's going on? And then as we're going down the road, he's regaling me with the stories of how when he was a young man, he used to have a Duesenberg, and I used to pick up my girlfriend in the Duesenberg. I had my raccoon coat on. And I'm thinking, oh man, this guy drove a Duesenberg, and all I have is this little 34 Buick. And Cary Grant, and I suddenly realize underneath my seat is my Academy Award. And that's what's rolling around under there, making all that noise. And I hope he's not noticing it, because like, he never got one. And I'm only like 30 years old here, and I got an Academy Award for like just producing like my second movie or third movie. And I'm thinking, Cary Grant is riding in my car, talking about his Duesenberg, and he never got an Academy Award, and I got this thing under my seat, and I'm not going to tell him what it is. And I took him to the theater, and I dropped him off, and I never told him what it was that was under my seat.
Is there any part that you thought that maybe someday I wish I could have played that?
At the time, I didn't know how much I would later wish I got the part, so it was no big deal, really. But it was a big deal. And that was the part of Benjamin in The Graduate. I had read the book, which nobody in the world but me and Larry Terman, the producer, had read. I had told my friends Bud Yorkin and Norman Lear about it. I said, you know, there's a book that I read that really, it's about me, the generic me, a young guy just out of college, which is what I was, who like doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, which is what I did. And it was true, it was real. It wasn't a beach party movie.
I guess Dustin doesn't know how lucky he is.
Because one of the most prominent things in your book is this chapter, this essay called "The Death of Acting." Now, I think it should have been titled "The Death of Acting," with quotes.
I think that the digital revolution, which is the idea that a camera no longer has film in it, is the most exciting and the most, and I think we will be able to look back on this kind of moment in history and say acting changed. Acting became different than it was before, in the same way that acting changed when sound came in. Sound changed the way actors acted. Actors no longer are burning up film. There's no pressure in a scene to say, I got to get it right because the film's going through the camera like 90 feet a minute, and it's gonna, you know, it's costing money, and it's gonna run out of film. We're gonna have to stop and reload, and we're gonna have to go back and start the scene again. Or, as in the case of Lars von Trier, the actors don't have to even think of, where's the camera, you know, where should I stand? Am I hitting my marks? The camera is just like out there somewhere. Billy Wilder's description of the associate producer was the only person that would associate with the producer.